A very warm welcome to She is becoming a very exciting platform because we are able to talk about all kinds of issues that are affecting women in our society today. My name is Lily, and tonight we are going to be discussing the issue of inheritance. Last week we discussed laying to rest, when you're laying your loved one to rest, women in that career. And now tonight we are talking about the processes that follow a woman after she has lost either her parents or her husband, inheritance issues. As we speak, if you're listening or watching us on YouTube, make sure you leave a comment down below, subscribe, share, and like. And then also, if you're watching us on TV, send your feedback to 0786316316. That's our WhatsApp line, or you can send it to 20316. That is our SMS line. To my immediate left, I've got Angela Kioi. She's an advocate. She's a managing partner of Kioi and Company Advocates. She's got over 8 years experience in legal practice. She is married, a mom of 3, right? I know what you're thinking. She's a mom of 3, and I just have to sneak out the ages of her children. She's got a 16-year-old, a 12-year-old, and a 9-year-old. Well done and welcome.
Thank you so much, Lily. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you for making time. To my immediate right, I've got Maureen Ashira. Maureen is a jeweler. She's a singer-songwriter. She's a worship leader at Eternal Life Church International, a mom of 1. And also, wait for it, you are raising a 16-year-old girl.
Yes.
Well done and welcome.
Thank you so much, Lily. I'm just so glad I'm here.
Yeah, and I guess I should also say that Maureen was orphaned at a young age, and we're going to be seeing the journey that you went through with your siblings in, recovering from that loss. Yeah. And then to my distant left, I've got Gladys Nyambare, a mom of 2. You are raising a 13-year-old and a 10-year-old, and she's widowed. Karibu sana, and thank you so much for making time.
Thank you very much, Lily.
Yes.
I'm happy to be here.
Asante.
Oh, yes.
I guess I'll start with Gladys. When you lost your husband, you can take us through, what happened next? So you've lost your husband. What happened next?
I lost my husband 2012, December. She just wake up. She was just okay. He went to job. After that, our in-laws, I was called a murderer. They say that I'm the one who talked to Masai to kill their brother. It was a hard journey. That time, I had a kid of 6 months.
And another one?
And another one of 3 months at that, 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah, my firstborn was 3 years that time. My secondborn was 6 months. Yeah.
Okay. Pole sana, it's a very difficult process. You're already grieving your husband, and then people are calling, saying you're the one who... It's very difficult. It's very difficult. Did your husband have anything he could leave behind for you?
Yes, he has things. He has a car. We are well at that time. By bad luck, my husband died. He didn't tell me anything. He didn't left any will behind. Even M-Pesa pin, I didn't know. Yeah.
Did he have land? A house?
No, he has a car, but back in the village, he has a piece of land. Yeah.
Okay. Angela, one would imagine that first for her to just collect herself, mourn her husband, the relatives of the husband will settle her in that piece of land with her children and console her and say, Pole sana. But the case is very different. They're like, you're the one who murdered him. From a legal eye, what do you advise a widow to do who is in that situation?
In fact, she said some things which are very important. The first thing that I've picked up is you talked about not knowing what assets there were. And you know, when you're a widow, that's actually, usually that is where you should be beginning. What is there? Being able to say and know, I know my husband had this property, I know this was in his name, I know this was in this process. And it's unfortunate that so many times that information is not there. So the first steps usually are in understanding what is available. Yeah, is it a pension? Was there life insurance? Was there, you know, if he's working, you know, sometimes a lot of times in jobs they have some sort of life insurance within the job. They have the final dues due to the deceased person. Yeah, so there's so many things that you have to sit down and think about, and obviously it is a very hard period of time that you're now thinking, where is this property, what has happened? You know, that it's a lot to think and do at the same time. But it's important that from the very outset that you understand what is available. Yeah, what's available, what is there, and what is that I can say, I can claim to as an inheritance for myself and as an inheritance for my children.
At least she knew there was a car.
There was a car. Yes. So you see, in that case, you know, I'm saying that she knew there was a car, and the next steps, once you know what your assets are to go to the chief, to the area chief where you live, because the area chief is the one who does for you a letter that now you can take to the court. Yeah. So it's important that you start making actions towards exercising your rights over these properties. And obviously, especially where you can see there's a potential conflict or that there's a conflict, that instead of having the tussle, that you go to court and put in your application for either with a will, the application for letters of petition of administration with a will or without a will, intestate. Yeah, and when you do that, then now it becomes an issue of the court to determine the rights over those properties. Now, unfortunately, and I understand that in your situation, things like movable properties, they are really easy for people to just come, take the car, steal, drive away, and then it's a family issue. It becomes a very, very emotive issue. But also in that, the law is very clear about how you can handle a deceased person's estate. You cannot use their property. You cannot take their property. You cannot sell it without leave from the court. Because the person is no longer there. You can't take it, you can't sell it, you can't transfer it, you can't do any of those things. So people who do these actions are actually going against law. What the law is. So as I said, this is a very emotive issue. There's never a right answer, wrong answer, but really at the end of the day, you need to be able to look at your options.
Okay. Let me go to Maureen. Maureen, your situation is a bit also complex because your parents divorced when you were young, and then your daddy died, and then your mom later on passed on. What was the situation like for you when your mom passed on?
Because we grew up being raised by my mom, and I remember she died on that last day when I was coming from school. You know, I just cleared my last paper. So I was going back home, and a few hours later, she's dead. And so she was just beginning to furnish the house. She loved leather, so she had bought brand new leather seats, white. So she loved white, so the house was looking pretty. So she dies, and because this family, because when they were buying this, when she was buying this piece of land, they told her that she cannot put up a structure like the foundation of the house without having a witness. In my community, they don't believe that a single mom can just put up a house. You have to have a husband. So she didn't have anyone. So I don't know where she got this mom from. So that was the witness. So the family of this guy, they came and they carried everything. They put her down because she was lying on the couch. So they put her warm body. You know when you've just died? They just put her body down, and they say, people will come and steal these things, so we need to go keep them. So they swept the house clean first. So they put they put her body. I didn't know whether to cry or fight. Or you know. So there was that confusion, and they carried everything, and so we were just left there with mom, you know, with that dead body there. So Yeah, and so later on, it wasn't easy because now we realized that this land was sold by a dad whose son was in prison. And so the guy chomokas from prison and he's seeing this building on his piece of land. Who are these? And he wants it, and there's nothing much you could do.
Hey, okay, that is so much.
Yeah.
Where?
Yeah.
Okay, let me just ask, how did your mom pass on? What was ailing her?
It was my mom was a very hardworking mama because she even had bought, and she died at 38. She had bought a lorry. She wanted to do some transport business. She had a salon in Kisumu town. So this guy, this stepdad, they somehow began to fight over this property before she died. So he would attack her several times. So she actually had multiple broken ribs. Yeah. So.
Hey. And he's the one who took the things.
Yes, him and the family. Yes, so a lot of internal bleeding and internal wounds, that's just what killed her.
I'm so sorry, Maureen. That is
It is all right.
I don't know what to ask the lawyer. When do we start?
I don't know where to start. It's a lot. What I'm feeling actually is a bit of sadness because it means that that somewhere this profession that I have has failed both of you.
Yeah.
The law, the government has failed you in the things that you need to do.
Yeah.
And what I wish would have happened is that there would have been, to a certain extent, that the government would have come in the sense of police, because this is theft. You cannot walk into someone's house and take their things and walk out.
Yeah.
Wait, the police case also starts where the mother is being beaten by the stepdad.
Right.
You see, from the beginning, you're right, yeah? So from the beginning where she's been beaten, and then that he is the one who, has harmed her so grievously that, and he's still the person who is going to benefit from what she has bought with her money. Yeah. So there's all of these things that I'm looking at, and really at the end of the day, the administration, the chiefs who are in the area, the police who are in the area, they are actually supposed to be the people who are protecting orphans and widows in such instances where you can be able to go and say, this is my husband's property and they have taken it away. Right. There is a court process that we do when people interfere in a deceased person's estate, and you can be found guilty and you can even be given a jail term. Because at the end of the day, that is completely against what you should do in the law. Yeah.
Let's say there's a child who's watching us and maybe they are, how old were you?
I was 18, because I just 17. I just cleared high school. Yeah.
Let's say there's a child who's watching us and they're 17 and their house has been swept clean. All these things are happening. They've lost a parent and maybe they're watching this show. Step one, what's the first step to take?
So the first step I'd say is, first of all, I'd encourage you, because of course you're 17, is either get allies, get people who are on your side, your family members, or go to organizations that friends. Are there, or friends, your mother's friends, your father's friends, people who knew what it is, or go to an organization that has, that helps women, like you can go to FIDA, you can go to, I mean, they will always guide you to what you need to do. Go to organizations that provide legal aid, because there should be someone there to help you sort out the issue, because it's not something that necessarily you can do alone. But the other thing I'd say is document. Understand what is happening around you. You need to be able to say, to have that presence of mind to say, on this day, this is what happened. On this day, this is what happened. Because that's your evidence for you to be able to recover anything. The third thing I'd say is you need to then have a report. Report to the police, have your OB number. Report and say, this is what has happened. It is actually, you're right to say, people came into our house, my mother had died, this is what happened, I want to write a statement. Yeah, because you don't know where that is going to come back to help you, for you to be able to prove, actually on this day we went to the police and we reported this and these actions. It's difficult, of course, when you're in that situation. You're 17, you've lost your parents. For you to have the presence of mind to think about it. But when at that particular point, it might not be at that immediate, but at the point where you realize, by the way, what has happened is wrong, do not be afraid to go to the next step and figure out how you're going to,
Okay.
Yeah.
When we come back, we were now talking about past. We are going to talk about present. What do you do after many years has passed? Is there anything you can do to recover some of the things that you lost? To, you know, to malicious people, maybe family members, could be friends, you know, step people. Yeah, when we come back, that's what we'll be discussing. Don't go away. This is She.
Tomorrow on This Is My Story. While bereavement is stressful, whenever it occurs,
when you recount, you're like, it was worse when she was here because there was no peace at all, you know? So when she's gone, you're not celebrating.
Right now, I don't feel more open to anyone else like her, you know? She was like my bestie, you know?
it's a story about love, loss, and grief on This Is My Story, tomorrow at 8:30 p.m.
Welcome back to She. I hope you're having a good time wherever you are. I hope you're learning a lot. Tonight we're talking about matters inheritance. What are we doing? I feel like lecturing Kenya. What are we doing, Kenya, to widows and orphans? What are we doing to widows and orphans? Somebody's mom has passed on and she has tried to build something for herself and her body has not even grown cold. And the house has been swept clean. What are we doing as a society? Okay, end of rant. Now we can go back to the lawyer. I had promised that we're going to talk about organizations. What are some organizations that are open to orphans and widows who don't have money to pay lawyers? They don't know what to do. They don't know where to start. Everything has been swept out of the house.
My first place would actually be going to the places which, you know, that are known, yeah? Because they have that mandate. So you have FIDA, you have KIDO. Obviously, they deal with different issues, but they also, at the heart of them, deal with issues for women and issues for children. And I feel that they would be the best place to either guide you to the next place or take up your case and help you fight for your rights as a widow or as an orphan. It's unfortunately in terms of legal aid, we do have a legal aid organization within the government that is trying to come up, but it has not, you know, quite made as much impact or been known as much as it should right now. Yeah, I'd also say a lot of lawyers do pro bono work. A lot of lawyers do give their services or give advice for free. So even if it's going to talk and say, I actually just need to have this advice, I need someone to guide me on what to do next. The Law Society of Kenya, there's so many different places that you will find lawyers who are willing to give you answers, pro bono answers. And if you look out for them, you can go sit down, talk to someone, explain to them what your issues are, and they can guide you. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Let me now go back to Gladys. After your husband passed on, you're left with 2 kids. You have to take care of them. How did you feed your children, house them, and put them into school?
That time they called the committee and they told me, we can't give you our brother again because we will kill her. Now they pack for me what they give me and I tell them, thank you, 100 shillings. I just took the 100 shillings and by that time I was still having the money. With the people when it come to mourn me, they give me something. I kept the money, I have the money. I just decided to come back to Nairobi because I was laid up with a grandmother. My mother died when I was still young. Now my grandmother took me. It was the one who breastfed me.
Really? Your grandmother?
My grandmother, she breastfed me until I was in class 2. That's when I stopped sucking.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Okay. After that, I came back to Nairobi. I talked with a friend. I stayed in her house. I was washing the clothes for the women. I could go sometimes Isili, mostly I was going to Isili. We used to park, we sit, and then the Orea lady called you. You went and you washed the clothes. That's how I feed my kids today.
Wow. Okay. Very briefly, Angela, a lot of water has gone under the bridge. A lot of time has passed since she lost her husband. She lost her husband in 2012. Is it too late to look into, can she still ask for the car, or is it too late?
Maybe compensation for the car. I don't know
compensation,
if the car is still there.
Yes.
I don't think it's too late, because in such instances, we look at the property of the deceased has to pass properly. So if it has not been passed properly, you can always go back to court. Of course, with the time limit that has gone on, what we now look at is the evidence you have, the information you have, to be able to prove your claim. Yeah, even if, and I'd say this, even if right now you might not have specific assets that you're looking at, I think it's something worth it. If you're talking about him having land, having a car, you could always try and see if you can get letters of administration intestate for those particular properties, especially if they're in his name. So I can, unless his family has gone to get the letters of administration, I can guarantee you if the land is in his name, even today, it will still be in his name. Cars might be a bit tricky, but land is very difficult to transfer. And if they came and transferred a property of a deceased person after his death, and you have proof that he was the original owner, and this transfer happened after he died, that is actually now completely illegal. So it just really depends on the what evidence do you have, what information do you have. But I'd encourage you, go sit down and talk to someone, talk to a lawyer, talk to a chief. Just sit down and talk to the people around you and get legal advice on your specific issue, because I feel as if there are a lot more facts around, a lot more information around that we can then be able to sit down and say, this is actually what you need to do, and this is the way forward for you.
Okay. Then let me go to Maureen. So how did you then bury your mother, and what happened? Because now your children, you don't have jobs, you don't have much education. So how did you then bury your mother? What happened after that?
We actually stayed with her body, for 2 days in the house, because we didn't know what to do. And I don't do funerals because I still remember that. So again, that time, it's one Muslim, relatives, God bless them. Relatives just stay away and watch what you would do. So they didn't come they didn't come to help us. So my elder sister now had to go call her friends, to now she was put in a mortuary, and she overstayed in the mortuary anyway. But my sister's friends are the ones who came, and we made a makeshift coffin, just and there was nowhere to bury her. So my mother was her father's favorite. She was the last born. So my grandfather was still alive. So he says, you know what, guys, bring her home. This is my child. So, of course, in our culture, they put her, huko kwa maize plantation. But again, relatives didn't come. They stood na huko, and now the few of us now dug a hole and put her, and we had to go back. We didn't even stay in that house.
Where did you go?
Now to Kisumu town, and now trying to find a place to stay, because where do you go to?
Where did you stay?
We now went to friends' places, all of us, so.
How many were you?
We are 4. My sister, I, and my 2 fellow brothers. So that's just what happened. So we started now probably trying to find now, but later on, because we didn't know what to do. Who do you go to? We went to the chief, and the chief was like, I think he had been paid, So no one, we went to an aunt trying to, help. She was like, she doesn't want to die. That's what she said. Miss Toria land, I don't want to die.
Oh, you wanted to get your mom's land?
At least, even the house, But then she was like, as me, I don't want to die young. So when we had that, because she was our only hope, there's nothing we could do, so we just left it to date.
Okay. When I listen to these ladies, I wonder, is it worth it, chasing that inheritance?
The question I think that we ask ourselves in these moments is not that is it worth it or not worth it. It's about you in that particular situation. On day one, you might not be ready, but you might be ready in year 2 or year 3 or year 5. My advice is do not discount that there's a day you might be ready to say, I will go and fight.
Okay.
You understand? And what you do on day one might well be the reason why in year 5 you're able to go and fight. Because what you do in day one, saying, let me look for my documents, let me look for the information that I have, let me keep things properly. That may actually be what in year 5 will make you say, I actually now feel like I'm ready to go and fight, and I want to fight for what is an inheritance for my children. No, that's the other thing, and I think that's why it's also emotive, is that when you're letting go, you're also letting go for what your child
can benefit
from, or what would have been given to them. It's not necessarily about you as a mother. Like if I think about it, I would want my children to get the inheritance that their father has worked for them. That I would not want to be in a situation where I have made a decision unilaterally, but I have not secured them. But again, I'd say that what you do in day one is probably what's going to help you make those decisions easier later on. That you're not fighting from a place where you don't have information, but you're fighting from a place where you can say, I have gotten. So just as a quick anecdote, I think one of the things that I've seen happening quite interestingly is most people are told, there's usually that friend, auntie, uncle, sometimes, who will call you and tell you, okay, this has happened. Hey, where are the title deeds? Where is the car logbook? You know, where are these documents? Where is the bank statement? Take all of those documents and lock it. So it's sad that we live in a society where we have to go and tell widows and orphans to, in that moment of grief, look for documents and hide. Yeah, it's sad that that is the society that we
You
live
never
in.
actually, I think it doesn't cross your mind to look for documents.
Look for them. And normally you'll find someone has come and told you, have you looked for this? And I've had instances, I've had friends, and who have been asked, have you looked for your title deeds? Have you looked for your logbook? Do you know where your documents are? Do you know where everything is? And it's sad that, okay, to me, the sad part is that it's indicative of what the society that we live in, because the rights of widows and orphans should never be trampled on. And it should not be that difficult for you to come back and say, actually, this is my right.
So, I mean, for you, Gladys, it's been about 10 years since your husband passed away. Things happened the way they happened. In your view, which is the right way that things should have happened? What do you feel you were entitled to that you didn't get, and how would that have impacted your life?
If I can go back, the time my husband passed on, I tried, the time they were sending me away, I tried to ask them about death certificate. They refused to give me. Now, when I went to the chief wanted the death certificate. Now I don't have. There's nowhere I can go to claim. And when they left for me, even the land, the car, I can do something. Even the car, I can say, I can sell the car and I proceed with life. I can look the business I can do. And my kids can enjoy their father's properties. You see that? Okay. After that, when they don't take things, your properties, you can continue with life. You see, with me, I went to the morgue to see the body. When I came back, I found the house was swept off. Everything.
The furniture.
Everything. Only my clothes and the bed was the only thing
They
left.
left you the bed.
They left me the bed.
The kind.
They took the mattress and they left the bed.
Okay.
You see, if they didn't took those things, when I come from home, I come back to Nairobi, I could get where to start.
Yeah.
And you see, that time I just came back, they give you only 100 shillings. I came back, I just talk with a friend, please, let me stay with you. At that time, you see Nairobi, life in Nairobi.
Yeah, it's money.
Everything is
money. Yeah.
Here you have 2 kids. Another one is too young. You can't even go and look for a job because you are looking for the kid. Yeah.
Okay. Issues of furniture, when someone is starting out, it really matters. It really matters. But it's been 10 years. Is there anything she can do? Not to get back the furniture, but to say that there was injustice and she needs, because furniture, if you look at like if to get a proper couch, beds,
it's a lot.
Coffee table, TV, fridge, it goes into well into 6 figures. Yeah.
There is something you can do. That something is court. Yeah? Because you have to go to court to then exercise and say, I want to be given the letters of administration over this person's estate. What that means is you as a person now, you as the administrator can now go back to say, this person had property worth X amount of money. The other side of it is, as a married couple, there's this joint ownership, especially in things in your house. Very hard for you to come into my house and say, this is Angela's chair. This is my husband's TV. Yeah. This carpet is mine. Everything belongs to us. With that assumption of joint ownership is also, at the end of the day, that is theft. That is literally someone coming into your house and taking your things. But if you are able to go to the next step, because as long as you have not done something positive towards claiming that property, getting the letters of administration, listing down and saying, in our home, these are the things that we had, and according to me, I know that these are the people who took the things from my house. Look for your witnesses. I'm sure there are witnesses, people who saw what happened, people who heard about what happened, who can come and stand on your behalf and say, yes, that house, I knew that house, and I saw this XYZ coming to take, so that the court can then be able to say, we are going to step in and help you, and for you to get your things back. Yeah. So it's not necessarily a despairing situation, but I feel that it is, as I said, it's now you decide when you're ready to go back and fight for your things. But it doesn't necessarily mean, of course, there are a lot of more facts and issues that when you sit down with a legal professional, they'll be able to help you think through. But it doesn't mean that you should not go and ask someone, how can I move on from this step where I am?
All right. Let's go to Maureen. Maureen, your story is so, it's so wide. You, at some point, you were living with your auntie. Were you all living with your auntie, or you separated?
No, just my brother, my fellow brother and I. Yeah.
Where did your other siblings go?
Actually, my youngest brother and I. So my immediate follower was in school. He was in high school, and then of course my sister had begun living, by herself. So she was in Kisumu. So we just decided, hey, so we just go and live with aunt. Yeah. Oh my goodness, but it wasn't easy. Yeah.
Your auntie had other children as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Older than I. Yeah.
Did you go to the same schools?
No.
What happened?
This was that rich aunt, You guys grew up just knowing, hey, there's this rich aunt.
She'll help us.
So this was that rich aunt.
Okay.
Yeah, with, Yeah, so her issue was that, when our parents divorced, we as a children didn't try to bring them together. So she had that bitterness, and a lot of resentment towards us. So even when we were going to, going to live with her, she was like, so she would always mention, she'd always mention, and it wasn't such a good time living with her. That was one of my worst moments, as a person.
Yeah. Are there homes for orphans? Are there institutions for orphans provided by the government, the country, in case as an orphan you don't find a place or someone to house you?
Yes. There are institutions, there are places where orphans can go and they will get housing. I think in the first instance, at all times they look at whether or not you have family who can take you in. That's always going to be the first instance. So unless your family is completely unwilling or unable to take you in, we do have children's home, we do have organizations. And then even beyond that, there's the ones which are government, and then there are also private children's homes and organizations which are willing to take children in, especially to help them meet to at least until 18.
Yeah.
So especially even when you're 15 years old, 16 years old, if you're orphaned and you have absolutely nowhere, you're a child who needs to go to school. So there are organizations who do take in, and that should usually come in through the provincial, at that level. So with the chiefs in the area at that level, to be able to guide you and say, actually, we have a child which is actually the job of the chief. So you shouldn't go and become a street child. You should actually go to a home and be taken care of until you're 18 years of age. Yeah, that's actually what they're supposed, part of what they're supposed to do. So there is that type of help. I don't think I'd say is adequate, but it is there. Okay. And unfortunately, it's too easy in Kenya for children to fall through the cracks. Yeah, because everyone always assumes your family is going to be there. Someone will come and take you. So if you completely don't have anybody, it's very easy for the system to fail a particular child. Yeah.
Okay. Angela, just before we wind up, I wanted you to take us through the issue of gifts and gentleman's agreements and things that you have but you don't have legal documentation. Like someone had given you a house, maybe presented it to you at your wedding as a gift. Or a piece of land that belongs to your late spouse, but it hasn't actually been allocated. It's just understood. Hapa ni pa baba so and so. So when he passes on, there's no legal documentation, but maybe mlikuwa mmejenga, you had, crops there, you had tilled the land as maybe the wife. What then happens after the spouse is deceased?
So, and I think, maybe I start by saying I think this is a common issue that Kenyans have, because we somehow never, but fail to go to the next step, which is formalization.
Can I just say why?
Yeah.
It's because as the wife, maybe you want it, but you don't also want to look like a gold digger.
That you're asking, I want this in our name.
Yeah.
I want this, put it down in writing. It's true, by the way.
We're playing safe.
We are playing safe, yeah. And maybe also on the side of your spouse, they do not say, this is what I've been given by my family. I don't need to do anything. What I'd say is, in terms of gifts, I think around gifting is a lot around intention. What was the intention of the person who was being given, and what is the conduct of the people who are gifted? So if I am gifting to you a piece of land, I have the intention, I can say it out loud, usually people will write, but I can also say it out loud, and I can do certain things that symbolizes that I have passed that property on to you. So I've told you out loud, maybe I've given you a title deed. Yeah, I've told you now, here's the title, and here's the transfer or whatever. Come with me, come and get me the documents. Yeah, come with the documents, I'll sign, and you never did. But at the end of the day, even if the title is still in the name of the person who gave you, you can see the intention for them to give you, and on your part, you can see your conduct. I entered into the property. I was planting, I was building, I was doing this, I was doing that. So that is actually now what becomes the basis of what you would call a claim, to say this property belongs to my husband, this property belongs to us as a family. But obviously, it still needs a process of you going to court for you to prove. So if it is contested, that is what you look at. Sometimes it can be contested by the family, it may not. But if it is contested, that is what you look at. You look at and say, how have we been operating with, and what was the intention of the person who gave the gift, and what was our conduct, us who were given, how did we operate, and even the conduct of everybody else, so that in the case of this portion of land belongs to this family, you can tell conduct by the fact that everybody else is not, no one comes to farm there, no one else has built there. You have a fence and nobody ever came and pulled down your fence. So if this is how you're behaving all of this time, then this property actually ought to belong to the family.
Yeah.
But it could also be, there are different ways of giving. There are gifts which revert back after the person has deceased. So it's a lifetime gift. I'm giving you this property to use while you are alive. When you pass away, the property still remains mine.
Yeah.
So you need to be able to understand what, that's why I'm saying intention, what was said, how, what is the conduct of the people around.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Angela, Maureen, and Gladys, for being so open and vulnerable. You shared your stories with us, and I believe that someone watching us has been inspired. Go for it. I think as women, we shy off so much. We shy off so much. We want to retain our dignity and we want to look good. No, go for it, I think, if it's your right. And that's it for this episode of She. Thank you for watching. Leave your comment on 0786316316. That's our WhatsApp line. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please leave a comment down below. And remember to subscribe, like, and share.
Fresh, insightful, and in-depth stories from current affairs, opinion, inspiration, lifestyle, church-related articles, and so much more on www.familynews.today. Insights at your fingertips.